Story 1. He was an enormous shot put guy, a kind giant though. Used to eat like $40 worth of Taco Bell in one sitting. Now he does a cooking YouTube channel and lost about 200 pounds probably. Culinary bro down for those that are interested. He has a cool cookbook too. Story 2. There was a guy I went to school with who basically kicked the shit out of everyone all the time. About 2 years ago, I was in the gym and he was there. He kept staring over at me as I was working out. He's a pretty shredded dude and has those kind of, I will kill you eyes. Afterwards, I'm in the changing rooms and he gets out of the shower and walks up to me with a towel on. Before anyone says anything, he starts telling me about how he'd been abused when he was a kid, and he basically took it out on anyone that got in his way for about a decade. He said he'd had a kid, and he was in prison when the kid was born, and it really woke him up to the stuff he was pulling. He goes on to tell me that he's really sorry if he ever caused me any grief or pain at school. It so happens he hadn't, but I was one of the few that he'd left alone. He's going around his life basically trying to make up for the pain he caused, and he's determined to try and be a good person. We had a long chat about my life as I was getting ready to move to another country for a job. Anyway, I was back home a few weeks ago and bumped into him again. He's still a super friendly, very motivating, and uplifting person who remembered every detail of the chat we had and was asking all about my new job in life. I was pleasantly surprised, and it really made me reconsider how I remember and frame people in my day-to-day life. Story 3. He is dead. A drunk guy parked his car on the highway, turned all the lights off, and he hit him. He died on impact. It was on the way home from a school sporting event late at night. It was very sad. He was everyone's best friend. Truly the nicest guy. Story 4. I'm from a small farming town about an hour outside a major city. He was the stereotypical chisel-jaw homecoming king, quarterback of the football team, valedictorian, long-term dating the captain of the cheer squad. They got married straight out of high school, had a couple of kids, and he started at his dad's mattress store. Still there as far as I know. I actually expected a lot more because he defied the cliché of being unkind to everyone outside of the popular clique. He was always showing up at punk rock shows and band concerts for his girlfriend and was super nice to everyone, and it didn't come off as fake. Pretty much everyone liked him. Seems like he could have done just about anything he wanted. If he's happy with his life, though, who am I to judge? Story 5. One of the prominent students from my high school was found in a house he had broken into, where he killed the family cat. Before breaking into this house on the same day, he held up a school bus, threatened 2 teenagers at knife point, and stole one of their backpacks. He was completely unpleasant in high school to everyone not in his friend group. This event happened about 5 years after high school, and his friends from that time had the nerve to set up a fundraising account for him so he could pay legal fees. I looked up the local newspaper article. He did not technically rob children. They were high school students. Story 6. A girl at my high school was on My Super Sweet 16. It turns out her mom paid for it by embezzling millions of dollars from the company she worked for. Her mom is now in jail and even had an episode about her on a series, possibly on Discovery, about female criminals. The daughter is laying very low after the story blew up. Story 7. Over 400 pounds. Was all-state in football and baseball, but destroyed his knee in college and can barely walk. He's doing okay for himself, though. He's a certified public accountant and became a dad last year. His wife is also awesome and very attractive. He started making an effort to get healthier last month and has been going to the gym with me a few times a week. The guy can still bench 2 plates with no problem despite not having been in a gym for about 10 years. He really wants to be able to teach his son how to play sports and support him. Story 8. Shot multiple times by the police after he checked himself out of a psychiatric hospital. Went across the street, broke into an older woman's home, and then started stabbing himself with a kitchen knife. Story 9. He was the big man on campus because everyone saw him as the bad boy. He is now doing life in prison for several felonies. I guess we were all right about him. Story 10. The only one I can think of embezzled from his parents' company and ran them out of business. He then fled across the country to California. No idea if he is still there or what else he has done. Story 11. He was supposed to be this big sports star, and to be honest, he was genuinely very talented. He now works in construction and has this tree sap farm. He taps trees to extract the sap from them. Story 12. He is one of my best friends, actually. He is the chief executive officer of a company that he and one of his childhood friends started, and they opened up an office in a second city this year. He also got engaged recently. Oh, and last year he won an award for one of his pet projects. Story 13. The physically biggest man at my high school now plays for the Eagles. His name is Anthony Fabiano. Great guy. There was this tiny guy I did theater with who was still in the closet and very uncomfortable with himself. One day, another football player was bothering him, and Fabiano made him back off. He's a class act. Story 14. He is now a very successful doctor married to a beautiful, sweet wife, and they have 3 kids. He was always a really nice guy, so it is awesome to see that life has treated him well. Story 15. So there was this guy at my high school who was without a doubt the toughest lad at school. He once punched another kid and broke his jaw, cheekbone, and eye socket in one punch. He really hated gay people and anyone who wasn't white. Anyway, he's now in a relationship with a man. Story 16. Mine is the reverse. Not a big man on campus, but instead, a big dork on campus. He was a fantastic artist in school, and now he is a millionaire drawing for Marvel Comics. Story 17. I was an uber dork in high school. Math club, chess club, etc. Had 1 or 2 close friends and otherwise wasn't very social. But I did play baseball too and was pretty good. Starting shortstop/second baseman for 3 years. The most popular guy in school was this dude named Drew who lived a few doors down from me, and our moms were best friends. But I hated him. If I'm being honest now, I was just jealous of him. He wasn't a bad guy. He was just taller, better looking, and had better social skills than me. He got laid a lot. Anyway, after high school, I didn't see or hear from him again for many years. About a month ago, I ran into him at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting and we reconnected. We now talk almost daily. Our lives took very different paths, but we both ended up addicts in need of help. Recovering addicts stick together despite our pasts. Our lives depend on it. Story 18. I have a reverse story. He generally kept to himself. He was well liked by students and teachers, but certainly not the most popular. We were friends in class, but I never really saw him outside of school. He went to college at Morehouse for a semester, I believe. He ended up dropping out to pursue his music career. His name is Leland Wayne, but he's commonly referred to as Metro Boomin, and he would like some more. Story 19. Big man on campus in high school, star football player, had a nice car, the girls, and a total jerk, went to college on a football scholarship. 20 years later, saw him selling cosmetics at Dillard's. Story 20. Not a brilliant student, but not a bad person either. He got married to a girl from another country whose father has a company. So now he lives in that country and works in that company as a regional manager of all South America, which is far beyond what a psychologist, which is what we studied, can achieve after a normal career. Story 21. Wasn't exactly the big man, but he was a football player, so yeah, he was popular. Years later, I was downtown, and I saw him begging for change. He was homeless. Story 22. Big woman on campus. She got fat, ugly, and stuck at a dead-end job for the rest of her life. Shouldn't have been such a mean girl. Rachel, karma is a bitch. Story 23. There were a few, but one of them is a friend of mine now. He turned out to be a super nice guy, a great father and husband, and just lives a normal life. It is refreshing to see. Story 24. He is doing well. He was on some of the same teams as me. He was a nice guy. He went slightly off the rails when his family home caught on fire, and they sadly lost his little brother, but he got everything back on track and did well in school, then went back to sports. He went off to college, earned his degree and master's, then moved back home and set up a business there. We were pretty good friends, but just stopped seeing each other after we both set up our businesses in different parts of the country. I probably haven't seen him for 15 years, but he still drops a Christmas card to my parents every year and will stay and chat with them. I think that really sums up his character. He was a good guy then, and he seems to still be a good guy now. Story 25. One of the big man on campus types was very popular around everyone in every grade, as well as with the teachers and principals. He would always have girls walking next to him, just chatting his ear off, and made every hormone-filled guy jealous. 6 to 7 years ago, he was found doing gay pornography and is currently living happily with his boyfriend in Vermont with a couple of adorable dogs. Another one was your typical skater stoner cliché. He was maybe 5 feet 4 inches and yet scored quite easily. The odds were good, but the goods were odd type of score. He was a small-time drug dealer in grades 9 to 10 until he started a grow operation and began to take over the local high schools up until senior year. In senior year, a guy tried to rob him of a few pounds of marijuana, and Skater Bro was not having it and put a bullet in the would-be robber's head. He is expected to get out in the year 2127, so that's nice. Story 26. This super athlete named Kevin was a big, muscular ladies' man. I saw him about a year ago working at a gas station. He looked worn out by meth, missing teeth, his hair had thinned, and he was unhealthily thin. It was sad to see. Story 27. Popular guy, probably slept with a majority of the women in school and was the football team captain. Now in prison because of an attempted robbery that ended in someone being killed. Story 28. He was the whole package, football quarterback, homecoming king, all that. Now he is a pretty successful insurance salesman with a bodybuilder wife and 4 beautiful boys. Story 29. Our class president also played football, sang in the men's choir, and was heavily involved in theater. He also happens to be one of the nicest and friendliest guys I've ever met. He married his high school sweetheart. She is a doctor now, and they have 2 beautiful kids. He owned his own business until they were bought out, and now he works for Google. These days, he has converted his backyard into an outdoor theater, so he can show movies at slumber parties for his kids. All around great guy, and he deserves every bit of it. Story 30. He works for his dad's dentist office. I don't think he himself is a dentist, but he's still living that small-town life, so I never bothered to check up on him. Story 31. I don't know how influential he was, but this one kid was intoxicated at a Mardi Gras dance and urinated in the middle of the dance floor, which led to him being banned from future dances and, as far as I remember, he wasn't allowed to participate in the graduation ceremony. He was in the student council or some popular student office, so they needed to make an example of him. This prompted the rest of the popular kids to get shirts made that they sold to most of the school, listing his charges like one of those credit card commercials. I never bought one, so I don't remember what it said, but they were supposed to be a protest or something with free kid who urinated on the floor. On the back. So dumb. The kid was wealthy too, so I have no idea what the money from the shirts was for. Anyway, if you search him now, the first thing to pop up is a news article and mugshot from when he was accused of rape and kidnapping 10 years after the fact. Nothing ended up happening with it. Someone probably got paid off and the case got forgotten. Even the $50,000 bail money was refunded. Story 32. This guy was a black belt kickboxer, and apparently he was not permitted to get into fights with those of a similar age as he would cause serious harm. He was a cool guy, and I remember unknowingly making a sexual remark to his girlfriend. Well, the next day in information technology class, my guy was waiting at the door. He asked if I made the rude comment, and I said yes, but it was a joke. He said okay and was about to walk away, and then silly me had to stop him and ask what if it wasn't a joke. With a straight face and eyes like a dead rabbit, he said he would beat the crap out of me. All of a sudden, my scrotum contracted, and I replied, "Cool man." Fast forward to where he is now. He is still with the same girl, engaged with a beautiful baby girl. To be honest, he was always cool. Story 33. One that comes to mind for me is a guy who was one of those future president types. Last I saw, he and his wife are shills for Amway, and judging by their Facebook feed, not much else. Story 34. Unfortunately, our big man was accused of rape and he took his own life because of it. This was all before he was found guilty. He felt his life was ruined already. Very sad. Story 35. Big woman on campus was a total sweetheart to everyone. On Broadway for the last 10 years and some bit parts in movies, but will still talk to anyone from high school that messages her. She splits her time between New York City and Los Angeles. Married the owner of a vodka company. She's still sweet and down to earth. Story 36. As far as I can tell, the three guys nominated for Most Popular went to business school in college and all have business or consulting jobs now. One of them was really nice to everyone, and the other two were at least nice to me and my friends. We were that kind of group that got along with everyone. One of my closest friends was our class president, so he is organizing the reunion coming up, and we're all going to go. I'm interested to see what happened to a lot of people and to hear stories that I've never heard. Story 37. After his Division I football team found out his statistics and game tapes were doctored during his freshman year, he was kicked off the team and lost his scholarship. He went to a Division III school for football. He is a car salesman now. Story 38. It was actually a woman in my school. She was team captain of a few things, very popular and charismatic. She ended up becoming a teacher and got some of her male students drunk and slept with them. She got caught, lost her job, and only did a year in jail because she is still an attractive woman and got off on a technicality. Haven't heard anything about her since.